Right. We're with Madeleine McNamara, who is involved in advocacy in Vision Ireland. You're very, very welcome to the show.
Hello, lovely to meet you.
Thanks for coming on. The obvious first question, I think, is why the name change?
Oh, that's a big question. Well, good question to start with. The main reason for the name change was from previously we were the National Council for the Blind of Ireland, and now we are Vision Ireland. And the reason for the name change was because it makes it much more inclusive. Previously, I think people identified that it was just for people who were blind. And when people think of blind, they think of people who have no sight at all, which isn't the case. I'm actually technically blind myself, but I have quite a bit of useful vision. But really, by changing the name to Vision Ireland, it makes it very clear that we're not just for people who are blind, but we're also for people who have low vision. So, it really opens it up to make it, more accessible for people, make people more aware of what we do and who we, can help.
Can you give us some statistics or facts around people with sight impairment?
Yeah, on the last census, there showed that there are 296,000 people in Ireland who stated that they had some sort of vision loss. Yeah. I can't remember what the percentage of that is or the number that they are totally blind, but, that 296 covers people who, right from no sight at all through to, sight loss that affects them in their daily life. So it's quite significant.
That's a huge number.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't have imagined that it was like that. What about the language around sight loss? I think that's important.
It is, and I think there are different. I think with any kind of thing, language has changed over the years, and people prefer different things. It moves on. I mean, there's blind, there's vision impaired, there's visually impaired, there's sight loss. They all kind of mean the same thing, but just different ways of saying it. Personally, I don't particularly have a preference. It doesn't bother me one way or the other what people use. I often just say to people I don't see very well, or I'm visually impaired. So, it's up to the individual really what they feel comfortable with.
To what extent is it age related? People sight deteriorating.
Yeah, I mean, it is much more prevalent. Obviously, as we know, as we get old, things often start to break down, and sight is one of those things. So the prevalence of sight loss is much, much higher in people who are older. But it is very important that we get our eyes regularly tested, because a lot of the conditions that are related to age can be prevented if they are caught soon. Yes. So, we really do stress the importance of getting regular eye checks, once a year, to check the pressure in your eyes and to check the health of the eye in general. And there are, as I say, many conditions which can be prevented. I think it's sort of, 70% of the conditions could have been prevented or at least slowed if, had been caught sooner.
Right. And what's the process for a newly diagnosed person with sight loss? So you've just been diagnosed with sight loss. Scary time. What's next?
Absolutely. It is a scary time for people. And one of the huge advances that has been made in the last number of years is the rollout of our eye clinic liaison officer service. So we call them ECLOs for short. And these are people who are based in a number now of the major hospitals in Ireland. Not in all yet, but this is something that we're pushing for to get it rolled out into all, the major eye clinic hospitals. So when you're diagnosed, you're linked in with that person, and they can give support to you and start the process of informing you about the various services that are available to you, whether that through the NCBI or, Vision Ireland. I have to remember the right name, Vision Ireland or other services as well. So it's a great service, and we're very proud to have that. And it really does make a huge difference. People might not be ready to engage in services at that stage, but it's really great to know about what's there for when you are ready. And, to have that sort of link point to be able to engage with services that you may want to. People can be referred to Vision Island through many ways. They can self-refer through our website, or ringing us up, or through the website. You can get referred to Vision Island, and then the process would be that a community resource worker would come and do an initial assessment of your needs. And then, look at that, and further assessments would probably be done, and to see what kind of help that you would need to deal with your sight loss, whether that be through mobility and orientation training, whether that be through technology training, and how to getting adaptations in the home, the various equipment that you may need to help with cooking. And all of those things, and letting you know about all of the other services that we have as well.
So let's talk about Vision Ireland itself. Do you know when that was set up and why?
Gosh, this is I should have done more research before this interview.
Don't worry about it if you don't.
I think we've just had our oh gosh, what was it now? how long ago? It's been around a while. So yeah, I think it's our 70th anniversary recently, wasn't it? Or was it 90? Oh gosh. Now you're asking me. I don't remember.
I think it's 70.
All right. Yeah. It's a good number of years now, and I think obviously that the reason was to help people, who with sight loss, really to help them. And in the early days, it was quite basic services, I think, and over the years, it's grown and grown. And now, we provide a whole range of services to people, and it's all about empowering people to be able to just continue to do the things that they want to do, whether that be employment or, social activities and education. We provide supports in all of those areas.
And what services do you provide, particularly for children?
Yeah, so our community resource worker teams, they're split into 3 groups, and children, we have a specific team that work with children and young adults. And they would provide a range of services depending on the needs of the child. So, right from birth, really, you can be linked up with that community resource worker and to assess what the child needs. So whether that be a special equipment or technology training in school or any of those things, that they would be there, and again providing those sort of independent living skills to help children with those. And then also it's very important the transitions into school, whether that be initially going to school and then moving between primary and secondary and onwards.
Do dogs, is there a long waiting list for dogs? Because I'm sure dogs still play a very important part for some people in coping with their...
Yeah, I mean, Irish guide dogs would be the providers of those, and I don't know really anything about their waiting lists or anything.
Right.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a process just because, as you say, it takes a long time to train dogs, and you have to be matched up with the right dog. But, I don't have the details. It's a different organisation that would be involved in providing guide dogs.
And tell me, why is a calendar of events important?
I think it's just important that people know what is available to them. So on our website, we have a calendar of events in the various departments that we have that would run events throughout the year. So you can go onto the website. There is a tab for events, and you can see under the various categories what's happening in the year. So the information is there, so you can see what you would like to get involved with.
Excellent. I presume technology is important.
Technology is hugely important, and we all know, more and more technology is available now in our everyday lives, and it's actually opened up a lot of things for people who are blind or vision impaired. The technology has enabled that, things like the I will say her name, the lady beginning with an A, Alexa. If anyone has one now, they'll all be they'll be talking. These kind of devices and Google, all of those that you can now talk to and ask various things, whether that's what the weather is or to set a timer. To play the radio, and all of those things make it much more, much easier for people to be able to use those things. But then also, for people with low vision, being able to use the magnifier app on the phone, or technology has really opened up a lot of things for people. We now have voiceover. Where you can get the on your laptop or on your phone for it to talk to you, basically to tell you what you're looking at, and all the enlargement software now. I use a Zoom Text to enlarge the screen on my computer, which is hugely helpful. So yes, technology is so important, and the training for people of how to use the technologies is vital. And we have a huge team of people who do that, who provide training for individuals and groups, how to use the various technologies, the assistive technologies that are available.
Do you know what a possibility lab is?
Yes, the Possibility Lab is our there are access sort of experts, and they would be all to do with the kind of built environment and how that can be made more accessible for people with disabilities. So from from the streetscapes in terms of the pavements and crossings and all of that through to transportation. So they would do a huge amount of work. They would try to work with architects and developers and designers, and try to help to make sure that new things that are being rolled out are fully accessible for people, but then also working with people to try and change what's already there to improve it. So that's vital. And
your own role, you're an advocate. What kind of areas do you advocate in?
All sorts of areas, really. So at the moment, we're engaging with the banks to try and make banking more accessible. That would be, one thing that I'm doing at the moment. But all sorts of things where I sit on a lot of the various transport user groups. So trying to help to make, transport through, at the moment I sit on a group, the National Transport Authority have a transport users advisory group, and I sit on that. So that's across all forms of transport. And then also on the one for the Lewis, we have other service users who sit on the other ones from the Irish Rail and Go Ahead and Bus Air. And so to try and make sure that the voices of people who are blind, vision impaired are heard on those. So it's very broad. So I deal with that, but then also with individual issues that people are having. I can help them if they haven't been able to sort something out themselves. I can work with them.
I do think that one of the biggest obstacles to people with a disability of any kind is people. General people. People who drive tend to park on footpaths and don't think of somebody else coming by, all that type of stuff.
Absolutely, and that is one of the things every year we run our Clear Our Paths campaign. So that runs in August, for a week in August, and we focus during that campaign on highlighting the challenges posed by that kind of behaviour. So whether that be cars parked on footpaths, or dog fouling, or wheelie bins sort of left all over the paths, or overhanging branches, things like that people, ordinary people can make such a difference by thinking about what they're doing, by being considerate and realizing that actually, my hedge is really growing out over the footpath here. Yeah. I should cut that back because it's a hazard for somebody else. Picking up after your dog is so important for everybody, whether that be people who, have sight loss, through to people, people in wheelchairs, or mothers pushing buggies. There's nothing worse than getting the wheels covered, and people, with using myself standing in it, or people on their white canes getting in it, and then that's really horrible experience then when they go to fold up the cane. So we do a lot of work like that on sort of national campaigns as well to raise awareness to try and change behaviour of the general public.
And how are Vision Ireland funded?
So we are funded partly by the government. That's, I think, through the HSE. That would fund the sort of the services like the community resource workers, but other aspects are done through charity. So we have our range of a lot of charity shops, Vision Island charity shops, and they would provide a lot of funding. So, for example, Advocacy isn't government funded. We have a very good counselling service for people specifically to deal with sight loss, and that isn't government funded. So that's charity money. So it's a mixture of the two.
I would presume that the counselling piece is a big piece.
It's very important, and it's a piece that we'd like to extend more. There's a huge need, for that, the team is expanding at the moment, but there's always more that you'd like to do in that area.
For somebody with no sight at all, is Braille a difficult thing to get involved in? It opens up any amount of opportunities for you.
Yeah, I mean, Braille. I actually can read Braille myself. I learned as a child, but luckily I don't. I have enough sight that I don't use it. But Braille is great because it does give that sort of independence to be able to read. And although now we have the technologies, I mean, I use audiobooks, and people, do that. For some people, it's just very nice to actually physically be able to read yourself rather than have someone reading to you. I couldn't tell you whether or not it's difficult to learn as an older person because obviously I learned as a child, so I don't know. But it's something that's important to have, to have as an option for people. For some people, it's not for everybody. Some people wouldn't want to learn Braille, and that's fine because there are other options. But I do think it's a very important thing still to have, and for people to have that option to learn it.
What about entertainment like the cinema and TV, audio assisted technology? Is that coming along? Is there more of it now?
There is more, and I think more could be done. I mean, in terms of audio description, I love it. I was a bit of initially when on the television and that was audio description was coming, and I was like, no, I don't need that, And then I happened to watch a movie by accident. It was switched on, and I couldn't turn it off, and I love it now. I absolutely love it. And it's amazing. It sort of made me realise how much I was missing out on. Right. Because just the descriptions of things happening that I wasn't seeing. And I would have been watching television with my husband or my children. They'd be saying, what's happening? And now I don't have to because it's telling me. So it's great. They can enjoy it more as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So it's brilliant. It's not on all programs at all at the moment, but it is increasing, which is great. I know RTE, I don't know the latest figures, but certainly a year ago I was at a meeting and they were talking about how they've increased their team of people who do audio description. So that is great. The cinema as well, there is the option for that there. It's not in all cinemas, disappointingly. And my experience hasn't been brilliant. Often, you ask for the audio description and if it might be available and you get headphones and then 9 times out of 10 doesn't work. Right. So that's very frustrating. There's definitely improvements that need to be made there.
Right.
Madeleine, we're coming right to the end of our allotted time. Is there anything else you'd like to put out there before we close?
Yeah, I'd just like to bring people's attention to, and one thing we didn't talk about was sport and leisure activities. And one of our things we do is Vision Sports Island, there's so many different sporting opportunities available for people. It doesn't have to be competitive. There's a range of different things people can get involved with there, and that's something I would really encourage people to check out. But yes, so there's a whole load of things there, whether that be athletics or swimming or tennis, or all sorts of activities, and there are a number of things during the year which we have running as well, sort of big events too. So check that out.
And lastly, can you give some contact details for Vision Ireland for anybody who wants to get in touch?
Yes, certainly. Our helpline number is 1-800-911-250. And you can go onto our website, which is www.vi.ie.
Thank you so much. Madeleine, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.